Hi, I'm Charlotte Merrill, and this is our So Let's Be Friends podcast. This is a place where everyone belongs, and every story matters. Together, we celebrate our differences, bring awareness to disabilities, and build a more inclusive and supportive world. One conversation at a time, let's open our hearts and listen with kindness.
I like when people ask me about my crutches because they can get to know me, and I like having friends, so let's be friends.
This life is beautiful, and you are wonderful.
Hi friends, welcome back to So Let's Be Friends. A podcast is about inclusion, understanding, and learning from one another. Today's episode is really special to me. My mom, Anna, and our family were interviewed recently on another podcast called Health with Sveta, hosted by Dr. Sveta Silverman. In that conversation, my mom shares about our family raising with 3 kids with physical and cognitive, brain challenges, and how hope, resilience, and neuroplasticity, Mom, can you say it?
Neuroplasticity
Have shaped our lives. We wanted to share that conversation with you here because it connects so closely to what So Let's Be Friends is all about. Seeing ability, believing in growth, and supporting one another through hard and helpful seasons. Thank you for listening and being part of this community.
Thank you, Charlotte. My favorite part about all this is she couldn't read in 6th grade. So
Nope.
Congratulations, that was hard, and those were some big words.
Yes. Thank you, Mom.
We will move into the interview. We're excited.
Yes, I am super excited.
Hello, and welcome to Health with Sveta. I'm Dr. Sveta Silverman, and today's episode is truly special. Guys, it's very special, and I'm very, very excited. I'm so honored to be joined by my dear friend, my business partner, amazing Anna Merrill, a parent with incredible insights and experiences and personal journey navigating life with 3 children who face physical and medical challenges with just absolute gusto. We will explore how their journey with neuroplasticity began, with the strategies that have helped their children thrive and the lessons they've learned along the way. Whether you are a parent, caregiver, or simply curious about the power of neuroplasticity in real life, this episode honors inspiration, offers hope, and practical takeaways. Let's go, guys. Well, guys, I did 2 podcasts on neuroplasticity. With me absolutely not knowing, yesterday I wrote a blog, and it never occurred to me that neuroplasticity is very near and dear to my heart. Why? I am a graduate from 2 medical schools, one in the Soviet Union and one in Canada. And in both medical schools, I was actually taught that if the brain cells are not developed, we're done. Or if the brain cells die, like from the stroke, from the cerebral vascular episode, same thing. Either we recover them very, very little, or we don't recover them at all. And guys, I forgot. I lived the concept of false neuroplasticity with my father. My father, I never told you, I probably never told you. My father suffered a debilitating stroke when he was 61. And those decades ago, he had it in 1988. What we did, it obviously wasn't good enough. I never say whatever, if and whatever. I never look back. I only learn from what we have. From now, again, it's becoming a cliche for me to say that my dog, Fiddler, the pet therapy dog, inspires me. Because without Fiddler, again, I probably wouldn't have stumbled on the concept of neuroplasticity, because we were working at one of the hospitals and we came upon the patient and he was in a car accident with a brain injury and stuff. And we started talking how to rebuild it, how to regain it, whatever he can. And that's how I started learning the concept of neuroplasticity. So from me learning to somebody who is living it. So there's nobody better to talk to you about neuroplasticity as the family of Anna and Lauren Merrill. I stumbled upon Anna and Lauren through my business, through my networking business. And that's when you do it right, that's how you develop friends. So not only we develop friendship, those Merrills, basically, I consider myself a part of their family.
I'm Anna Merrill, and she mentioned my husband, Lauren Merrill. We're both teachers, educators, and now I found myself educating people all over the world. I get to educate with Special Olympics Unified, which is a unified program that involves everybody. And then also I run a nonprofit bakery, which is where I get to teach now. We're doing exactly what you're talking about, neuroplasticity. And it makes me so emotional because you just get guided in life from your heart to get to help other people. And so in the bakery, we're doing exactly what Sveta and you were talking about. We're teaching people to read, write, follow the step, 1 step, 2 step, 3 step directions, how to make things, everything that you've learned in school, everything that those with disabilities and special needs have been told they can't do. We're teaching, even a 64-year-old in the bakery how to read and write for the first time, and she's making pie crusts. So to get to use what I've learned with my children from day one and get to spread it into the world and the community, not just, all of it, the resilience, the nutrition, the movement, and the connection, every one of those is important. And I've learned that from Dr. Sveta, and the last 10 years, we've just really incorporated it into our lives. And you can't miss a puzzle piece because all the puzzle pieces are important. So I'm trying to think of where to introduce. This is my daughter, Charlotte. I get them mixed up, just like, I know they have glasses and they're cute. So this is Charlotte. She's my oldest daughter. She calls herself the firstborn. She's 21, and she says firstborn because after she was born with special needs, her little sister Kalisha was born 2 years later, and then we adopted teenage boys. So to keep her space in the family, she's the firstborn. She's not the oldest anymore. She got trumped, and they're 31 years old. I have a son named Austin and a son named John, and they have their own beautiful children. So
When is in the valley in Munoz, Utah, we're gonna go visit him and our family for Thanksgiving.
we're excited to be together and get to see big brothers. So she's 21. So that's where my life started as a mother. And then firstborn, yes. And then my sweet Caroline, everyone calls her Sweet Caroline because she's just not just Caroline. She's sweet, but also the song kind of knocks it out.
Yes. When someone tells me what place are you in your family, I said firstborn.
She's the firstborn. She doesn't get to be the oldest anymore. So that's important to her to hold that space. And then, of course, our little guy, Harrison, he's 14 in 8th grade, and he is doing so many amazing things. He's riding bikes. He learned how to ride a bike at 13, 14 years old this summer for the first time. It's something we've taken 10 years to get to this point. And
and then one day he was riding, and I got home and I saw his hands got beat up.
Yeah, he broke his hand. He just got his cast off yesterday. And I had somebody tell me the other day at church, you shouldn't be so excited that your son broke his hand. And my heart's leaping for joy that he broke his hand. And I know that sounds horrible to say, but having a little boy who has a neurodegenerative disease and he has cerebral palsy, cerebral ataxia, he should have never been able to ride a bike. But it's exactly what you're talking about, the neuroplasticity.
And also, he can ride a hoverboard.
Oh my goodness, yes. So my children are doing things. He went from a wheelchair and a gait trainer. He bypassed the forearm crutches that my girls are still on, to hoverboarding and riding a bike. And it didn't just happen in 1 year, 2 years. It happened in being consistent with the things that we've learned.
Yeah.
It's taken, he's 14 years old now.
Balance and
But
all of that, like,
and that's what we want to talk about is what
Sport.
we've done to train our children's brains over the last 10, 15, 21 years to change and to grow and to develop. And we were told they were given a life sentence as at puberty that they would pass away because the brain cells, exactly what Sveta said, that they would just stop. And I don't know where you want to have me start with my journey, but it started when Charlotte was a baby. And they told me very specifically when she was 3 years old, they said to me, are you not listening to us? Your daughter will never walk, crawl, talk, or get married. And when they jumped that, or get married, I picked my daughter up off the clinical board and I walked out and I didn't look back because no one could say the future that much. Maybe somebody will love my daughter in a wheelchair. Maybe she'll do better. I had no idea. But when they jumped to the conclusion that she'd never get married even, I didn't even understand how they could come to say that. And so that was where I started. Like Sveta said, I was shy, I was quiet, didn't have a lot of confidence, but I as a mother had to learn that confidence, and I had an inner intuition or gut feeling that I wasn't gonna just do what the doctors said at the time. They wanted to strap them in wheelchairs, strap their heads to the backboard, do all those things, and I got in trouble a lot.
How did you start changing your life and their life, implementing it? It's like it's an evolving journey to health because you are absolutely evolving.
All of us, Sveta, me, she went to 2 different universities and to learn. That was all neuroplasticity, teaching and overcoming. And same with what I've done is, so, I'm a teacher. I was a reading specialist. And before I had children, I was able to take people that didn't know how to read, 13, 14, 15 teenagers, and I was able to start them and find out where they could read. And so that right there, and you're asking where it started, some things that just connected with me. It was that moment in the doctor's office when they told me all those things that my kids couldn't do, including getting married. But it was connecting, I can teach a child or a teenager, an adult to read that was told they never could read. Like that kind of keyed into me that there's something there. If I can teach someone to read, I can teach my kids they have arms and legs. Does that make sense? And what really keyed in all those little connections is when Charlotte was, so for the first 3 years of Charlotte's life, I live in a small town, and that's okay. We didn't live near Phoenix Children's Hospital or anything to get the right support. People just kept telling me she would grow out of it. But she was constantly having little mini seizures that they didn't know at the time, shaking her head. We would tally mark it. So I was documenting everything. She would shake her head 80 times a day, and they were considered little mini sensory seizures later. But over 80 times a day, we would tally mark it where she could see it too, because I wanted to be visual. I'm like, oh, she's shaking her head again, Charlotte, we got to tally mark it. And I didn't even know what I was doing at the time, except that I documented my students with their reading, with their progression. So I started doing it with Charlotte. And around that same time, during those few years that I was told she would grow out of this, she was 3 years old and still didn't know she had arms and legs. But when I would call for dinner, and I don't know why this makes me so emotional, because these are the moments that I recognized things. You want to tell them? She loves the story. When I would call her for dinner, any of my kids, because I had she and my little other Kika, my little sweet baby, and my 2 big teenage boys at the time. What happened when I called for dinner?
I was the fastest crawler.
No, Charlotte. Cut that part out. Charlotte, when I called for dinner, what happened?
I was the fastest roller.
She was the fastest roller. And what I wanted to share with that is, and I was connecting this just with the dots with my own knowledge, but she learned she had a head. And any physical therapist would be so sick if they saw this because it's not the correct way to roll. But she knew she had this big, long body and she had a head. And she would flop her head, flop her body, flop her head, flop her body. And when I saw that she could roll and that she discovered she had a head, and I didn't teach her that, she did that on her own. And she was the fastest roller. She'd be the first one to make it to dinner. And that's when I, as a mother, thought, she has a head. She learned she had a head. She doesn't know she had arms and legs. And I started to compare it to all the students that I was working with at school, that when they came in, they didn't know they could read. They didn't understand. And I would teach them. And it was a lot of work. And I don't need to go into that. But just recognizing that, I'm like, I can teach her she has arms and legs. And then that's when I met the most wonderful physical therapist, Cheryl Bird. And she helped me to go against the grain. She helped me, support me with, and I remember, this is how long ago it was, we were on corded phones, and I would stand on the corded phone, and I'd have to stretch it really far to go work with Charlotte on the floor. And she was teaching me that I didn't have to strap my kids in the wheelchairs, that we could teach her to quit slobbering, because she couldn't control any of her muscles, having that cerebellum deformed. She was doing everything, slobbering, shaking her head, doing all the things that looked like she would never progress. And she helped me hang my daughter in a sheet. And I know this sounds so funny, but like a puppet, we would brace the sheet around her stomach and we would hang her so her arms and legs were drooping. And she taught my husband and I how to do this. And we would just start. So she was hanging like a puppet with her arms and legs dangling. Does that make sense? I'm trying to give that visual. And her arms and legs would just dangle. She didn't recognize she had them. And I put together a sensory box and I would start rubbing the sensory things on the bottoms of her head. We did this for 2 years. It didn't take 2 weeks. We were consistent every day for 2 years. And then my husband would start to lower the sheet to where her hands were getting pressure on the carpet or on the tile or all the sensory, not dangerous things, but different feelings, fluffy, furry, a little sharp, on the ground, in the grass, in the dirt. And with the weight that he would lower down, and I would just drag her hand. And we did this consistently. So we did lots of things, and I had no idea about neuroplasticity. I had no idea about anything except that I knew I wanted my kids to learn. And so the things I learned with her, I did with her. And I remember when she did her first crawl, almost at 5 years old, when all of a sudden she did that crawl and she went to the ground. Just when people take their first step or they sit up for the first time, her first crawl was something I'll never forget.
My first crawl was
almost 5 years old. And that's when my sisters grabbed on to me.
later.
And I still had no support of doctors. I just had a physical therapist that reached out to me at the time. And then around between 4 and 5, I can't remember the exact time, but that age is when my sister encouraged me. She was getting her nursing degree, encouraged me to go to Phoenix Children's Hospital. So I walked in with this little baby, just floppy, not a baby, but 4 or 5 years old, floppy in my arms. I walked into Phoenix Children's Hospital and I just said, I need help. I'm trying to teach my daughter she has arms and legs. And that's when the journey started, where I started to get set up with, all of the specials for my kids and got her. And they denied the gait trainer at first for the first couple of years. They would not give her a gait trainer. They kept wanting me to put her in a wheelchair. And this wonderful physical therapist, again, went to her shed because, things get donated over time, wheelchairs, gait trainers. And there was this 70s. That's how old it was, a fiberglass, big, huge green gait trainer. I don't know if you know what that is. It's GAIT. So it's training your gait to walk. So it's like a walker. It's what it looks like, but it wraps around. Like Sveta said, this little circle, it wraps around. But we called it the John Deere because it was so big. And again, to make physical therapists and doctors upset, we would strap her in this, put a Dora the Explorer helmet on her. And then because it was so big, and that's what doesn't make the therapist happy, is her arms were way up here to walk. So now this little tiny girl is walking in this huge gait trainer that was made for third grader, eighth grader, just an older child, and she was teeny tiny. And so I would take her to the doctor's appointments in this, and I'd have her strapped in, just showing them that I wasn't going to just confine her to a wheelchair and be done. So when they finally realized this mother's going to just keep moving forward with teaching her daughter to walk, they finally, after a long time, finally got her in the correct gait trainer. And so I guess that's just the power of, and to me, that's neuroplasticity. You just keep teaching the brain, keep moving forward. And I wasn't doing good nutrients at the time because I didn't even understand any of that. I was just focused on mobility and teaching. And then they had their wheelchairs. Like Sveta said, every day looked a little different, whether she'd go to her wheelchair or gait trainer, but they got good at their gait trainers. And then Charlotte taught Caroline to do the gait trainer. And so I'd have these 2 cute little kids and gait trainers. I still remember the day when Harrison was born. I wasn't going to wait to find out if he had the same degenerative disease that these other two had, because I wasted so many years with Charlotte, with her laying on her back, not knowing, her arching and her everything. And then Caroline, same thing. I was so not wanting to accept that my other daughter, had special needs and a disability and disease, but I didn't put her down for a long time. I just carried her, because the moment I laid her on the ground, that's when I had to accept it, that she was going down that same path as Charlotte. And not that I didn't love them, I adored them, but accepting having child after child born with a disease and disability is really hard. So I just carried Caroline for a long time. She didn't go to a wheelchair, a gait trainer right away, because I couldn't accept it. But after a while, they got up on their crutches, and those are all neat stories, watching them learn and teach each other. But when Harrison was born, he was an hour old on my lap. I wasn't going to wait for a diagnosis. I just started doing everything I knew at an hour old. And at that point, we had already learned nutrition. So that was the puzzle piece that I was able to get into him right away. Starting to learn nutrition. I didn't meet Sveta yet, but I was starting to understand nutrition. But when he was a year old, wasn't 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. When he was a year old, he was able to use his sister's gait trainer. So I was doing the same thing, strapping him in. And the first doctor's appointment I went to, so they said, "Oh no, we're not doing this wrong with this one. We trust you as a mother." And he was, when Sveta said she was cute in her little gait trainer, Harrison was this little 1-year-old in a gait trainer. And all the doctors, I remember coming out of their offices to see the smallest kid in a gait trainer at Phoenix Children's Hospital, just this tiny little man. And everyone compared him to the little man on Up. He was just with his little glasses and on the I think it's Disney, but it was really fun.
Yeah.
So they had tied balloons to his walker and just he looked like the guy on Up. But it was just neat to see when she says neuroplasticity, the things we've learned. So that was the beginning. And then, of course, now they're in college and doing all these other wonderful things, and we just kept with that path.
Let's take a quick break to talk about some tangible steps you can take right now towards true health and happiness. My life's purpose is to empower you to seize control of your life, especially when it comes to wellness. But every person's needs are unique, and there is no one-size-fits-all solution. That's why we're launching a brand new initiative. Now, you can book one-on-one call with me, Dr. Sveta Silverman. Please do. Together, we'll talk about your history, your health history, how you feel, how can you improve on your health, the goals. I'll use that information to help you to plan a custom approach full of recommendation that I learned not only from my medical career, but from my personal journey. Let's unlock the secrets of happier, healthier you. Visit healthwithsveta.com/contact to book your free 30 minutes conversation and call with me. Now back to the episode.
About 12 years ago, I was a depressed mother, hurting and pain because I was lifting kids that were bigger than they were supposed to be lifted, right? And I was lifting them like little babies, not understanding there was nobody training the mom how to lift giant children, to put them on the toilet to go to the bathroom or to move them into the bathtub or a shower, getting them dressed, and having one child after another being born with disease and disability. My 2 big boys were struggling. I was in a pretty depressed state. I had all kinds of problems. I had arthritis because I had my own trials with wearing leg braces as a kid. And my intestines were destroyed because I was not eating healthy. For some reason, I have no idea why, but I thought Fruit Loops before all this were healthy because they're made with real fruits. Yeah. And I didn't drink a lot of water because I was a teacher and I had no time to go to the bathroom. So why drink water? So I actually thought it was a talent to not have to go to the bathroom. So I destroyed my intestines. I had arthritis. I was a pretty miserable mom, and I lived on prescription drugs because I had to be a good mom. So I was taking, ibuprofen 3 times a day, 800 milligrams. I was getting cortisone shots in all my joints. I was taking prescription medicine to get fiber. I didn't even understand what fiber was at the time. That's what they gave me so I could go to the bathroom. I had trashed my body, and I was very broken. And I just remember standing at the top of my loft, overlooking my house, just going, I built this home, I had children, and I was miserable, and I was in pain, and I didn't know what to do to help my kids. And I was doing all those things. I was doing everything that I was talking about, just having faith, but I didn't know if any of that stuff was going to work. Having my, all the stuff I was doing with my kids, with the walkers and gait trainers and all those things I talked about, I was doing those just out of pure instinct with the support of a physical therapist who wasn't sure either if it would even work, but we weren't going to not try. And so that's where I was at. And it was my husband reaching out because he saw, some information that we got, and he started ordering me Protandim. That's where this whole health journey started, where I realized there was another piece that I was missing, this nutrition piece. He saw an ABC News report. And so that's where I started taking this pill, completely upset when I was taking it because I didn't want to spend any money to help myself. I wanted it to go into my children. So my husband would put this pill in front of me that he ordered from a news report and said, "Happy wife, happy life." And he put it in front of me because he was really worried about me and made me take this. And it took me, I was pretty stingy, the right word. I wasn't super committed. I wasn't happy about spending this money on myself. Mm-hmm. And then, so I started taking it and I started to feel better. And I didn't even know what I was taking. I thought it was for arthritis. I had no idea that it was helping my asthma. It was helping my intestines to heal. I had no idea what this was. All I knew is that I was starting to feel better and I was starting to be able to exercise and run and have energy. And it wasn't until a whole year later, and this is what's so sad, it was a year later, I was in the doctor's office. This one man, Dr. Cox, who really cared about me as a mother, and it made me feel good. He would say, "How's mom doing? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you drinking enough water?" And this was going on for years of him just looking out after me when I would bring my kids in. And he's like, "You look the best you've looked in a long time. What are you doing?" And I'm drinking more water. And it took me a while to tell him about the Protandim. I'm taking this pill. And he's like, "Oh, that is wonderful. I'm so glad you're taking that. And that's my wife and I take that. That's so good for you." And I just remember him telling me that. And then I just passed it off. I didn't think about it. And then it was during my kids' appointment when, they come in and say, "What are your kids taking? All the medications, what are you doing?" And I didn't mention that they were taking Protandim because they weren't. And I just said it. And he looked at me pretty sternly and lovingly, I remember, and said, "Why are your kids not taking Protandim?" And that's because I had no idea they were supposed to be taking it. I said, "They don't have arthritis." And so that's where another turning point of my journey started, because he said, "I'm going to educate you, and I want you to understand that your kids don't just need it." And this was a ear, nose, and throat doctor, and he just told me, "I want you to go on published medical journals, PubMed.gov, and I want you to start doing your research so you can understand the nutrition and medicine and not just blindly be putting because my kids were on so many medications at the time. I remember it was a big pink basket we'd bring out morning and night and just give all this stuff to my kids because that's what we thought we were supposed to do." And so he was the one that gave me some education and a place to start doing my research and start understanding. And so I did. I went there and I started to learn. And that's when I did everything in my effort to reach out to this Dr. Sveta Silverman that I kept seeing the name pop up behind what I was learning about. Because when I would talk to people, and I learned that she was on the medical board, and you can't just call the company and ask to talk to the medical board. You get to talk to customer service. And I did everything I could working through different people. And I still remember where I was sitting in a classroom at a student's desk when I talked to Dr. Sveta for the first time. And she, over 10 years ago, is where my journey began to help my kids. I learned that nutrition was important. It wasn't just a dumb pill that I was taking to help my arthritis. She taught me the 4 pillars of health: nutrition, connection, movement, and resilience. And that's where my journey really propelled and took off after I met Dr. Sveta. And it wasn't just about supplements or activators. It was about clearing the table, getting rid of stuff that's not healthy to put in your body, drinking more water. So from there, we started getting chickens, and I started really encouraging my husband to hunt that I was against before. And that's when we already had the horses, but that's when we got the well, and we just started to shift our lifestyle and to get my kids more active, and the nutrition was a huge piece.
So we do horse therapy. Horse therapy is a really good movement for us.
To build your core, right? When you ride a horse yourself,
Yeah.
right? When you ride a horse, it's as if you're walking yourself, you're strengthening those same core muscles.
Yes.
So probably about 15 years ago.
Stronger.
Yeah, about 15 years ago, my grandpa was brilliant enough to say, "Why are you paying everybody else for horse therapy?" He said, "Based on your property, go buy your own horses." And then, so we did. And I didn't know anything about horses. I was a city girl back then, and we bought our own horses, and we do horse therapy at least once a week, maybe more. But they go out and they get on the horses. And the fun thing is, it's not just for our own family, we invite others. And so others come do the same thing. And so that's what our thing is at this time, is to teach everybody that they can be happier and healthier. For you,
I love you so much, Merrill.
our life shifted when we met you. I hope you know that.
Oh, I totally know. I know. I cherish it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
These guys are steward of the earth, because that's the stewards.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they do. They convey a message of love, of hope.
Do you want to hear what happened a couple weeks ago?
I would love to hear that.
I asked the boy to enter formal
To a dance.
Really good on you.
Well, good on you, because your older sister have done that before too.
Yep. They're not afraid to ask boys to dances and to dates. And the boys love being with them. And so the same boy that she asked to winter formal to a dance with her friends, he's actually coming to Special Olympics Unified to play softball with her today. And so
You gotta hit a home run. Home run.
so that's just the fun of it, just building friendships. All this is important. That's that connection piece that we can't forget about.
Thank you so much, Anna and girls, for sharing your story. It was very heartwarming and just beautiful to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Health with Sveta. Anna's story is so beautiful and so powerful, and it is a reminder that neuroplasticity isn't just a scientific concept. It's a perpetual living. It's a breathing example of how the brain can grow, heal, and adapt at any stage of life. And it's not a one-day solution. It's a consistency and a commitment. Every healthy habit, every moment of connection, and every new challenge we embrace helps strengthen and rewire the brain in powerful ways. Stay curious about your health. Keep nurturing your mind and body, and never underestimate the incredible resilience built into your human brain. If this episode inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with those who may benefit from learning about the power of neuroplasticity. For more resources, please visit healthwithsveta.com. Till next time, with hugs and love.
Thank you so much to Dr. Sveta for creating space for this conversation and focusing on hope, brain health, and real family experiences. If today's episode meant something to you, please feel free to share it with someone who might need encouragement. Remember, everyone's story matters, and inclusion begins when we listen. For more support and resources, please reach out and subscribe to us at merrillbuds.org. Thanks for being here, and always, so let's be friends.
Thank you for being a part of this. We are excited to share more stories and more truth and more love in every episode. Until next time, love one another, and like I say, so let's be friends.